with Legendary Vegan Art. Today I'm going to be continuing the portrait of Jared from Hot Pepper Gaming that I started several days ago now. And today I'm going to be working on correcting some of the mistakes I made in the last video. Now, the purpose of last video was to get some of the dark areas in, to sort of judge the areas of the drawing a little better, and to judge the value levels a little better. So to have some dark areas to know how light the light areas should be in contrast to them. But I made a few mistakes. This area under the nose is a little too warm in color, and the drawing's a little off. This part here comes out a little too far. The area under the neck and under the eye are a little too cool in color tone, so I need to warm those up. And I'm going to do a little bit of lifting with my brush here, just to get a little bit of a wet brush, sort of scrub at the paint area a little bit, pretty lightly, and just dab it on my paper towel here, or maybe dab it with the paper towel. It'll come off pretty nicely. It's going to take a little time to do, but it's worth putting in the effort to make sure the different areas of your painting are as nice looking as they can be. So I'm going to fast forward through a little bit of the lifting and get back to you guys soon. Okay, so I haven't done a whole lot of lifting, but I think it'll be enough to get a better start today. So I am going to use more of this raw umber color that I started to use last time. And I started off well, but I ended up sort of taking a misstep by adding too many warm colors to what should really just have been left alone. So I'm going to test out this raw umber on its own. I think it's a much closer color to what I need for this shadow here, especially with the sort of the darkness of the facial hair and the sort of coolness that it sort of appears as next to the warmth of his very reddened skin. The raw umber is going to be a very appropriate color. And let's also emphasize the shape of this shadow area, which looks a lot more like this. One of the benefits to, editing these videos right after I shoot them is I get to take a really close look at my own work and spot my mistakes from a new perspective, from the perspective of a video and not just of seeing it in person. And any little perspective shift like that can really help you see new insights. So I'm going to add a little more water to this, get it quite light, and start marking in where this rest of this facial hair goes. Just a light, cool shadow where it goes. That's definitely not going to be all it is. I'm definitely not going to just leave it as only this, but it's good to put a little bit of a plan in for later. A little more of that color, a little more water. Always testing to make sure it looks right. And we're going to bring a lot more warm peachy tones down here, because his skin is definitely very flushed down here. I can start putting in some red of the lips today, and some red of the tongue, get the color of the teeth right. I think that mouth area would be a good place to focus on, so stick with that. So I'm going to start bringing in what I normally do for my skin tones, but significantly redder today. So a little bit of this yellow ochre, not too much. Some more lemon yellow. And a good amount of this cadmium red deep hue. I have a feeling that because this color is a Cotman color and not like a core color, that the pigment load is a little lower. I always feel like I have to use a little more of this red compared to the other colors. So I may look to upgrading that to a nicer artist grade brand of paint in the near future. The feeling is going to be pretty strong, but that's kind of what I want. I've been underdoing it for these red tones recently. That's actually pretty good. It's really good. And we're going to need a pretty strong tone to counteract how cool and green it is down under the neck here. So let's put this in. Alright, that looks much better. Much better. I'm going to let these overlapping colors sort of play off of each other and see how it looks once it dries. I don't want to overwork it when it's going down. I made that mistake last time. Didn't do me any favors. And let's get a little more of that red area up here. What else can we do? Looks like definite red field here on his cheek. Probably going to dry a little too hard. Let's get those edges. That looks pretty good. Okay, so for the lip colors, I like to bring in a bit of a cooler red, like this alizarin crimson permanent, into my skin color. I'm going to make a corner of the skin color here, or half of it. Pull in this cool red, and that helps adjust it much more to an appropriate lip color. It may have been too much. Actually, going to bring it a little further into that warm red, warm peach. This looks pretty good, but always want to test it. All right, I like that a lot. Looks like a good lip color. Don't want to go in with too heavy of a coat of paint. I want to build this one up. So let's carefully put this in where it needs to go. Always referring back to my my reference image, because sometimes the paint I've put down isn't completely accurate. I always want to be referring back to that so I can get it right. So I am putting down one base color here. I'm going to go back and refine it quite a bit after it's down, because you can't paint the lips or any real, detailed three-dimensional area as one flat color, because it'll look flat. But I'll be going back and putting in highlights and shadow areas once I have the basic shape done. So I want to take care of one thing at a time and make sure, absolutely sure, that we're getting the expression right, because the lips are very expressive. Actually, I seem to have unintentionally pulled in some of this black into the shadow area, but that's actually working for me. It's just fine. Okay, I think I need to pull in this area just a little closer. Don't sweat it too much, but this comes in a little more. Yeah. What do we have here? Okay, I see what I'm doing. Okay, don't want to overwork that. It's already starting to dry on me and dry unevenly, so I'm just going to leave that. Looks okay. What else can I do? I think I'll go back and work on these edges a little bit. This top edge is a little softer on the picture. This area is still pretty hard because of the sort of line from the corner of the nose down to the edge of the mouth here. Let's actually pull that over a little more into that kind of shape. We'll see how that works out. Soften this area. So the further from an object that's casting a shadow falls, the more indistinct the edge gets. So up here, pretty close, this line's going to be pretty distinct. This one's going to be distinct because, again, of that crease of the mouth, which I seem to have lost a little bit. Let's put that back in, and I'll have to do for now. That just helps with the perspective a lot, with the way cast shadows seem to fall. Okay, I'm going to take more of this alizarin crimson. Pretty wet. Actually, I might just put it right down on my raw umber. I see how that looks on the paper compared to the area of the tongue inside the mouth. Let's see. You know what? I think I'm going to start with this. I don't want it to be too wet. I don't want my color to go absolutely everywhere. That would be a mistake. There is a pretty bright highlight here, but I think I'm going to save that and put it in with gouache a little later. I could get my masking fluid back out, but I don't want to deal with it right now. It's going on pretty light, but that's okay. A little too wet. putting the color down where it needs to go. And I'm going to soften this edge just a little while the red's still wet. Okay. One more time. Okay. When that first light red coat is a little drier, I'm going to go in with a much stronger red and do a highlight after that. And that's going to be pretty good for that. This line of the nose is bothering me. The accuracy is a little off. I think it starts where the tip of my brush is here. I got a little touch of pigment on my brush, but I think it's mostly water. It starts up closer to being up here and then comes down here, so I might need to lighten this whole area. I think I'm going to go ahead and do that. Put some water down. Luckily these earth colors like the umbers and siennas lift pretty well. They can work for or against you, but today it's a good thing. Don't want to overwork the paper, because lifting and scrubbing too much will put a pretty bad texture on your paper. And it's a little wet. I can feel the paper beating up a little, so I'm going to let that area dry. And I think I said I was going to come back to this area under the eye, and I will, so let's take some, maybe some really light burnt sienna. I'm going to see how that looks on the palette. No guarantee how it's actually going to turn out. Yeah, that's very dark. Let's blot some off, get some water. Let's see how that looks. That's pretty red. I think that's going to be too much. Maybe not, since the blue is already laid down, and I think that would be overkill. So let's pull in a little raw umber. Cool that down. I've been meaning to use raw umber on my palette for a while now. I haven't had an excuse in oil painting much, even though I have a tube. I rarely use it. This looks much better. So let's blot that a little. And pull this under the eye color back in. Much better. Now there is a highlight area on the rim of his eye, and I don't want this dark area to encroach on that area. So I'm going to be mindful of that. I'm putting down a lot of pigment here. And I'm going to get the drawing, the area where I need it to be, and pull up just a little bit of this. It's not super dark, even though it does appear to be pretty dark on the picture, and that's fine. Now the area under the other eye, I'm having a little trouble nailing down exactly what it should look like. I'm going to be bold and pull in just a little Prussian blue into this mix, which can really overpower a mix, which I may just have done. And it may have been my problem last time. Yeah, I killed it. That's okay. Well, you see, raw umber worked last time, so let's stick with it. Let's see how this looks on the palette. That looks pretty good. Just a touch of extra water. Hope these aren't too hard to see on your guys' end on the video. But we need to have a dark edge here to delineate, the lighter edge here where the eye socket sort of turns away. Whoops, marked down my paint where I didn't mean to. Okay, let's put this down. I'm going to want to make sure to get the drawing of this really accurate, so that I'm noticing on my picture the eyelash comes out a little bit, and right below that seems to be where this, my paintbrush is still too wet, where this area is. And again, I'm not afraid to put it down really light and take my time in building it up to the proper tone. I've been back and forth on the issue of me painting too light, but honestly, if it's how I'm going to paint, it's how I'm going to paint. I'm going to have to appreciate it for what it is. And let's pull this up a little, because it is going down pretty dark. Soften this edge a touch. Now, the edge is pretty hard up here, and softens as it goes down, so I'm going to pull this edge down. Oh, nice, perfect. Okay, I'm going to let this dry and come back to it next episode. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed this episode. It's been a lot of mistake correction, and every painting is going to go through a really weird, awkward phase where things just aren't looking right, and this painting's definitely there right now. But I hope you'll stick with me to the end, because I'm going to make sure that this turns out doing Jared's excellent rage faces justice. So I will see you guys in the next episode. Until next time, keep it vegan. Bye.